Hello, everyone. So, thank you for joining us this morning. My name's Phil Grierson. I am a business and law employability officer at the university, and I'm just going to outline the careers provision for postgraduate students. So, if you're a current student, obviously what you can access at the moment, and if you're a prospective student, then what you'll be able to access once you join the university. So, as I mentioned, I'm based within the business and law faculty, but each faculty has a dedicated careers team and a placement team within it as well. So we are all part of a central service, so that means that we work together, share obviously employer contacts and similar, but it also means that you get dedicated support relevant to your course, the employers that are interested in yourselves, in each and every faculty. So there's an equivalent to myself in computing engineering and media, arts, science, humanities, and health and life sciences as well as a career development manager and a dedicated placement team. So what do we do, you might ask? Looking at my title as an employability officer, it could be anything, but it's basically what you would expect any careers team to do and more. So we'll do things like ensure that you're prepared for interviews, prepared for applications, link you in with relevant employers and set up events. And this is done in a variety of ways. So, for instance, a lot of people will expect there to be one-to-one appointments where myself or one of the team might go through options with you. So you might have arrived at the university and signed up and gone, okay, I'm doing this postgraduate qualification. What can I do with this? What should I do next? What can I do to make the most of this? And those conversations with myself and my colleagues are there to ensure that you're heading in the right direction. And so beyond that, obviously, we've got more, I guess, hands-on support in terms of things like reviewing your application to make sure that you are able to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed in a competitive graduate jobs market. And again, sort of prep you by talking through interview responses, interview techniques, and similar. So beyond that one-to-one support, we offer a variety of sessions that cover these at the moment online, but in normal times we would also be running those in person as well. So it allows you to get support in a group setting. Some of our sessions, such as mentoring, can perhaps work better in a group setting as well, so that you get the experience of other people and their questions and experiences as well. But also it allows you to have those starting blocks, and then you can come to one-to-one appointments fully prepared, have a good application, a good starting point in any number of areas before taking that forward. Beyond, I guess, what you'd expect in terms of the direct sort of provision that we provide in terms of sessions and one-to-ones, we do have a huge number of online resources. So obviously with the rise, not only due to the present pandemic, but previously, of video interviews, we have video interview software that allows you to practice, and it also will allow you to access a number of mock questions from top employers as well. So it's a service that we, as the university, subscribe to enable that to happen. But also we've got some more generic sort of mock questions and in-house created resources, as well as a number of other subscriptions as well. So for instance, a lot of you may have heard of or be concerned about psychometric tests and what those can entail. So again, the university he subscribes to a platform whereby you can access a load of practice tests, a load of effective feedback tools, and then of course you can discuss that with myself and the rest of the team. So you can come to me and be like, Phil, I'm really struggling, and I'm not really sure how to go about these sorts of questions, or I keep falling down at this recruitment stage, and we can go through that with you to ensure that you stand the best possible chance of getting the graduate role that you would like. So beyond that, and I've spoken a lot about graduate roles, we do have a number of enterprise services as well at the university. So perhaps if you're like, actually, Phil, I'm hearing a lot about graduate roles, but I actually really want to strike out on my own, or with friends, colleagues, if you're lucky enough, investors, and really build a business, then we have an enterprise as team as well. So they will support you in terms of potential funding streams, but also that one-to-one support to talk about, is that business viable? Cool. So that's a lot of the provision that mainly sits outside of your course, but a number of you will have the opportunity to take part in curriculum led opportunities as well. So for instance, in business and law, there are what we call executive company projects for a number of degrees. So this usually takes the place of your sort of final semester dissertation, and basically you would link in with a company doing a real life project with real impact for them, and then you would present that piece of work. So it's a really good opportunity, particularly if you haven't had the chance to perhaps undertake internships and things, to really take forward some relevant experience as well. I briefly mentioned placements earlier, and these are more substantial one-year pieces. So for some arts, design, humanities postgraduate courses, and computing engineering and media courses, you're able to do a one-year placement as well. These aren't credit bearing towards your course, but are really valuable experience. And as I said, we have dedicated placement teams that are there to support you in terms of roles, in terms of the application support that I was talking about earlier, and also to make sure that once you do get that placement, that placement is legitimate, that you'll get a lot out of it, and that you'll come back having felt the full benefits of that. There are some flexibility in terms of placement opportunities. So you might decide to break that placement down into 2 6-month placements, and that's possible as well. But obviously, once you get to the university, you can discuss that sort of thing with your dedicated placement team. So obviously, a lot of that involves employers. So the university is building up a network of employers that we work with across all of the teams within careers. And as I say, the benefit of having that central service is that we can share those contacts with each other. So perhaps if I encounter an employer that's also recruiting computing students, I'll speak to the relevant staff member to make sure that we get those interested students involved as well. So we're both involved with your local employers, your small to medium sized organizations, your startups, through to large multinational corporations, such as Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Sainsbury's. We've taken students on visits to Rolls-Royce as well before, and the level of involvement with those employers all vary between faculties, and obviously how far we develop that relationship. But the main thing to take home for yourselves today is that there's a huge range of opportunities there for you. And the thing is, as well, with all of this support that I've outlined, it doesn't actually stop when you graduate. So we have what we call a DMU for life offer. So that means that you might be a year out of university. You might have just come to the end of your course, and occasionally I still get people perhaps that are five years out of their course and want a career change, or just want another set of eyes on an application. And we're still able to do that for you, and you can also still access the vast majority of those online resources that I spoke about after you graduate as well. So I guess the final thing that I'll leave you with before we go into some questions is that basically you can be doing things now. I really encourage you, before you start university, if you haven't already, to look at perhaps trying to get any part-time work that you can, to look at voluntary opportunities, and to undertake sort of online learning. So you've got a huge range of free online courses that you can do, particularly if you learn things that are outside of your curriculum. So for instance, if you're a business student but perhaps look at doing some more advanced sort of like data analytics, or if you're a computing student and you perhaps look to get knowledge of a bit more design work and similar, that might help inform sort of website design and things like that. I really encourage you to do that. You've got things like Google Garage, you've got Code Academy, you've got LinkedIn Learning, and a number of other both premium and free resources as well. So I'd really encourage you to make use of them and to research organisations that you are interested in as well. So then you can really take that forward and really make the most of your time at the university. But the simple message from me is make use of myself, make use of the service, but most of all, just get involved in things that go beyond that immediate sort of course deadline that I know many of you that will be thinking about as soon as you arrive. So I understand that there's likely to be some questions from people that will come up for myself in a moment. So, do international students secure graduate roles in the UK? Yes, so the simple answer to that is yes, we do have a number of international students that secure graduate roles in the UK. We do have a relationship with a company called Student Circus, and we have a subscription to an organisation called Going Global as well. Both of those look at opportunities for international students. So obviously you would need further visa sponsorship if you're looking to remain in the UK after you graduate. But yes, we have had a number of students secure roles of both small, medium-sized and larger multinational organisations as well as graduates. As I say, we've got some dedicated support there in the business school. We have, starting in a few weeks' time, someone dedicated to postgraduate careers provision who will maintain those relationships with the business school as well. So if you're a business student, it's worth particularly bearing that in mind. But as I say, there is support across the university, and doing things like placements can only help your chances in terms of securing that role. Which employers do we work with? So each faculty will maintain their own sort of list of contacts, and we have some contacts centrally as well. So for instance, myself, at the moment I'm in conversation with HSBC about how we can work with them. I briefly mentioned earlier Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Sainsbury's, we've worked with Rolls-Royce before, we've worked with Emerson an engineering firm. We also have worked with more local employers and also public sector employers. So this has included a network of schools, but also beyond that, we've worked with sort of organisations like Leicestershire Police as well. So there is a huge range. And I'll just encourage you to. We have a event sort of booking system at the university for students to keep an eye on that when you do come, because those relationships come up all the time. Sometimes it might be that we're just advertising positions. So obviously, in that case, we have a lot more employers, and then we do some more dedicated work as well. So perhaps sessions, or they'll come to careers events, networking events, and similar. Is it possible to have a placement? Yeah, so in terms of having a placement position whilst doing the dissertation, so it is separate. So most placement positions will start between sort of May and June time. We do have some students in computing engineering and media starting in July, August, but the idea is it's set up in a way, particularly for ADH, that has a stricter May-June start time. The idea is that you've hopefully been working on your dissertation before you start a placement. But if you haven't, then once you finish that placement opportunity, you would still have a couple of months, or at minimum a few weeks to be undertaking that dissertation. We do have some students that, particularly if they're doing larger research pieces, or just want to get ahead, have done work on their dissertation whilst they are on placement. But the idea is that it's set up that the hand-in is after your placement finishes, because otherwise you've technically finished your course. So so yeah, in terms of, I guess, the elephant in the room in terms of COVID-19, a lot of people are concerned about whether that's affecting the opportunities that are available at the moment. There's been some quite scary statistics about a reduction in opportunities, particularly for young people, but also a reduction in particularly graduate opportunities as well. I'd say a couple of things as just a start point. The first thing I'd say is that graduates in general are in a better position than those without degrees. The other thing that I would highlight as well is that, yes, some sectors are really badly affected at the moment with COVID. So you don't need to switch on the news to know who those are. But just for clarity, obviously sectors like hospitality have really struggled during this period. Seasonal work, things linked to tourism, events management, and similar have, of course, really suffered, but particularly areas linked to IT, computing, and similar have actually thrived. There was an article, I think it was yesterday, saying, for instance, Zoom's profits have gone up something like 300% or something crazy. Don't quote me on the figure, but it's grown massively, as I'm sure anyone who knows that's been sort of video conferencing would know. So there's huge amounts of roles there, and things like logistics and what I would describe as less typically popular areas generally are still either growing or have maintained their sort of recruitment. So again, IT support, things like logistics firms, food, retail, have sort of maintained, and some have even grown as well. So yes, opportunities are affected, but I would say, I would hesitate to say that it's a horrifically bleak picture at this point. Is the masters good for employability? So I'm sure a lot of you will be asking this question, looking to or currently studying masters qualifications. I think what I would say is particularly good about undertaking a master's is that obviously it allows you to specialize a bit further. So for instance, if you're an accountancy student, you might be looking at specialising more along the lines of forensic accounting. It also allows you to perhaps step away from what your undergraduate degree was. So perhaps if you did a more sort of media or communications orientated undergraduate degree and you wanted to specialize a bit more on the marketing side, it would allow you to do that and obviously stands you out in that way. I think as well, there's a couple of things that are unique to the present situation. So obviously it gives you some more time to look at what the options are. In effect, buys you an extra year before you're entering into the job market. And the hope obviously is that COVID-19 only has either a brief impact, however large, or the impact's reduced over time. The other thing that I would say is that it is a good opportunity if perhaps you didn't take as much advantage of some of the opportunities available at undergraduate to really make use of that as well. So whether that's sessions with ourselves, additional time to learn, additional volunteering opportunities as well. So yeah, it can be really good. I wouldn't say if you get a master's you're like guaranteed a role somewhere by any means, but there are some advantages to doing it. So specific applications for application processes will vary slightly dependent on how involved we are with the particular employer. So obviously at its most basic, if you see a role on prospects or target jobs or student circus or something, and you're interested in it, a member of the team can review your CV, can review your covering letter or application form. But beyond that, if perhaps we've worked with the employer before, we've got placement students there, we can reach out to them to perhaps get some further knowledge about what that application process entails. But on top of that, say for instance we've worked really closely with an employer, we might actually bring that employer in to talk about their opportunities, talk about what they're looking for, and give you an opportunity to network as well. So as I say, at minimum we'd be able to look at your application, obviously give you the guidance before that to ensure that you've constructed quite a good application before it even comes to us. But going forward as well, depending on the employer, we might find that, as I say, we've worked with them a lot before and can provide additional guidance on top as well. Yeah, so in terms of accessing the career service after you graduate, yeah, as I mentioned, it is a DMU for life offer, so that does mean that you can access everything. So you can access myself, Elf, in terms of appointments. You can still attend the vast majority of our sessions. We do have some sessions dedicated to graduates on occasion as well, and beyond that, in terms of the online resources, as I mentioned, you should still have access to the vast majority of those. But the main thing is that, as I say, you still are able to attend events. It's especially useful now that we've got a lot more recorded resources, and we've got a lot more online, obviously in part due to the present circumstances. But a good side to that is that basically that means that you'll be able to access that at your convenience as well. And also, simply, we don't have the limits on room sizes that perhaps we have before. So if we have a lot of graduates that are interested, then you can just be there on top virtually of your undergraduate sort of peers or postgraduate peers that are still studying as well. So I think we'll probably leave it there, and quite a positive message to leave it on in terms of us still being there to support you throughout your time. So as I say, the main thing that I'll take away from this is there's a huge range of support dedicated to you in each faculty, as well as a central team in reinforcing that and allowing us to work with colleagues across the university. So if you do want some more information, you can email the careers team. So the email is coming up on a banner just on your screen now. But also we are part of the live chats that are being held throughout today as well. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that you've got a good idea about the support on offer, and hopefully at some point we'll be welcoming you as a student as well.